All right, we'll start inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا. ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إسرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Welcome, dear friends. Inshallah, we will continue with our discussion about our journey in this world. As we are traveling, if we think of ourselves as travelers in this world, because we know this life is changing, passing by. We are changing, whole universe continuously is changing. So we are kind of the travelers in this world on a journey. And of course, we must have a destination, a purpose to our journey. So the author here in this section, which he calls basically the beautiful qualities, names of God, like wherever you go, what you will see is you will see only the manifestations of the qualities of your Lord, which is from the verse of the Quran, right? So if I go see exactly which section that verse was, which was section 20, verse 8. So God, there is no God but He. His are the most beautiful names. And we've been going through different sections of this text, seeing how the author kind of makes us realize why we are here in this world and then what our duty and journey is about. And he gives the analogy of basically, let me bring this up, the flower, the droplet, and the transparent particle, and the different degrees through which we travel through these different stages, where now he was saying the most dense being the flower, which gives a lot of colors and absorbs a lot of the qualities in it. And the droplet basically receives the qualities through a reflector, as we kind of summarized it. Right? And the transparent particle being the most radiant, just doesn't claim to own anything and lets the light or the qualities pass through it. All right, so we were kind of discussing how the flower kind of faces a lot of barriers which have been imposed by the flower itself. So in order to just get the direct quality of its, or of the sun in this case, the analogy, but the qualities of its maker, realizing the qualities of the maker, right? And then how it has to leave that particular, those barriers, right? And continue its journey to make progress. So we said we have to use basically the heart of man, so including the human spirit and many other human qualities that directly acknowledge the source of our existence. All right, so we will continue basically now that he is going to talk about the philosopher, or the second maybe stage that reasons a little bit. Fariha, go ahead.
Thank you, bro, for summarizing what we went over. I just wanted to add on one important takeaway, at least from my end, from last week, was how neediness is the key point in terms of we give the analogy of empty out my cup. So I think that's the first step towards anything. Emptying out my cup means just really removing the pollution in terms of how am I viewing the world, in terms of how I unconsciously, when I'm in that state, attribute a sense of agency to give existence to things. So, and we said that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, really worked on emptying the cup. Hence, he was the most needy recipient from his source of existence to have the cup filled, to receive the message. And this really sets up the standard for us in terms of keep checking ourselves, just like we wash our hands throughout the day. In terms of working out, really that I am indeed a needy individual. It's just not needy in terms of immediate things I need, but I mean, sometimes we do get caught up in that, but it's just needy in terms of I don't even know what the next moment will look like. So I'm really in need to be given existence. I'm in need to be utilizing creation to remind me that ah, I'm not, I cannot guarantee my existence, not even for a second. And I think this awareness is needed to get on the way to the path of prophethood, emptying the cup. I know all the different path, like you were mentioning, the flower, droplet, translucent particle. These are stages that we go through to seek reality, and I think it's the stages of emptying one's cup. And also sometimes in this process, it gets dirty, so you really want to make sure even like the pollution gets cleaned. And when it's nice and clean, obviously it becomes illuminated. It becomes then like a translucent particle. So inshallah, that should be our aim. And yeah, let's inshallah proceed with the philosopher today. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, thank you for that addition of the human needs, as you were giving the example of the emptying the cup. Yes, you're right. So, as you said, the pollution, maybe we have dirty water in the cup as an analogy, full of maybe philosophical ideas or anything. So we need to kind of clean that out, empty it out and then be really thirsty and for the guidance and to see the reality and to fulfill our purpose in the way that make progress in our human spiritual journey, right, where all the faculties are really looking and acknowledging the source. So we'll continue with the philosopher. Now, the wise philosopher, which represents basically someone who is reasoning and thinking about things, right? So maybe it could be part of the path of sainthood, right? Striving with the mind and refining the soul, the nafs, the egoistic side, right? So still looking for the meaning in life, meaning for the existence of the universe and purpose in existence. That's what philosophy or kind of at the core comes to. And the wise philosopher basically is using a lot of his intellect to realize. So who has entered into the droplet stage, or so you have advanced as far as the moon with the telescope of your droplet of thought, and by the stairway of philosophy. So droplet of thought is a good thing in a way, but then the stairway of philosophy kind of restricts the individual to the universe itself. For example, everything that the maybe this material scientists, right, materialist minded, and the philosophers, they are looking for answers from within the universe, right? So you can study everything in the universe. You can study biology, you can study chemistry, physics, math, but they don't tell you exactly what your purpose in life is. Why is it that way? Why are things changing in this way? Why is there order in this way? Well, they can only calculate and describe the many things that are happening in the universe. So basically giving explanations to how the order or the observation that is going on is happening, but it stays there. And then trying to explain everything, just imposing those philosophies to every other being. Although it looks very smart because they're using reasoning, their thinking, intellect is used, but it restricts to this universe. So you have entered the moon, right? So the moon being physical moon, for example, reflects whatever the light it absorbs from the sun, right? So it does not have the light of its own. So that's used as an analogy here. Now look of itself, the moon is dense and dark. It has neither light nor life. Your endeavor has all been in vain, and your knowledge has proved to be profitless. So if you look at each and every thing in the universe, by itself, matter is lifeless, has no life, right? It has neither night nor life, but I don't know how the materialist scientists kind of give explanations that this is doing it, that is doing it, this is natural. These are the things that are responsible for this change when everything is just lifeless and just matter. So all that endeavor has all been in vain, and your knowledge has proved to be profitless. So even knowing all that all these things that are claimed to be responsible, and then writing many books describing how that is happening. But that's just meaningless, kind of attributing the qualities to the matter itself. So you can only be saved from the darkness of despair, the desolation of loneliness, the pestering of evil spirits, and the horrors of the bleakness through these conditions. So how does the author jump from all this effort and basically your endeavors just becomes meaningless, useless, and all that knowledge that you acquired just is not benefiting you. It's profitless. I mean, what kind of situation would that put a human being into? So he's saying, I mean, all your life, basically, you've been reasoning, but then everything you've been working towards is just within the universe itself and nothing, no recognition of who actually is the source behind it, who's the owner of it, who is taking care of each and every being in the universe. And definitely the darkness of despair will cloud that individual or that attitude. The desolation of loneliness, this hopelessness, meaninglessness in the universe, in one's being, in the existence of the universe, just continuously changing and dying, right? So the horrors of that bleakness through these conditions. So the only way is that you give up the night of nature, to give up this philosophical stairway that you're following to the night of nature and turn to the sun of reality. So wake up to what the real meaning, the real source behind each and every being is, which is not to be found in the universe. Right? That's why we say an absolute being not of the nature of this universe. We kind of logically conclude about whoever is giving things their existence and whoever is responsible for this change, whoever is manifesting the qualities in the artistic beings that we are observing must not be like the things in the universe. Fariha, go ahead.
Okay, maybe you could have proceeded, but I felt because you brought absolute into the discussion, so let's a little bit talk about it, because I feel that what we're doing here is really concluding an absolute being. And if my understanding of absolute being is very shallow, just, yeah, there must be an absolute being controlling this universe, then it doesn't help me much. Hence, this whole experiences of loneliness, despair, because then you're emptying your cup. Like, yeah, I know these things are not happening by themselves. Seasons are not changing on their own. The tree's not bearing fruit. Just, yeah, like just through the seed, water, whatsoever. I mean, there is a concept of there must be an absolute source, but then I think in this stage, I wrongfully think that it's something of, I don't want to say something of this universe, but I don't, I'm sort of stuck here. And the reason I want to bring this up is also because I think what we're doing here is really, and please, I would be curious to know what everybody else thinks on that. Do you feel or do you think that what we're doing here is really trying to comprehend our conclusion of there must be an absolute source? So yes, there must be an absolute source. So like, what type of absolute source is this? Because the word absolute is so, it's like, like you cannot define something of maybe mighty stature, something that really, if you cannot describe it within the conditions of this universe, you call it absolute. So it's just, I think it should, I don't, maybe excite us. It should, like, whoa, it's something like, what I'm trying to say, maybe it has layers of understanding, and that's what we're trying to do, trying to not only deepen our understanding of what do I mean by when I say an absolute being, but also I'm trying to expand this this comprehension of absolute being in terms of there must be something after we graduate from this universe. It's like this, yeah, I guess just expanding this understanding. Otherwise, there are some, I think, culture, we mentioned that maybe a few weeks back. For example, in Buddhism, people do work out on emptying the cup. which is a good first step. But then what do I do now with this emptying the cup? I cannot just like keep rotating around like a swirling dervish, I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna try to comfort myself by, I don't know, uh, remembering the source of existence. I mean, okay, but then we have to be realistic. Time is continuously moving, changing. We experience events, and we interact with the universe. But then now I need to educate myself in terms of how to best fill this cup. I need to educate myself in terms of the actual source, or really how to reach this absolute source, or how to directly communicate with the absolute source, because only the direct communication with the absolute source will fill up my cup. I'm not sure just if that made a little sense, but I just wanted to share some thoughts and ideas that were imparted as far as absolute being. Do you think, would you agree with this, that what we're doing is trying to expand and deeper our understanding of what we mean by an absolute being? So when we say Allahu Akbar, it's just like, whoa, we're communicating or exalting like a really something um, of a mighty stature, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, basically, for example, as the section is kind of making us realize La ilaha illallah, and then all the qualities, whatever we are observing, you may call something a fruit or a tree or anything, but they're just names and labels at the end, right? So we are realizing, okay, yes, in those beings that we are seeing, or the qualities that I'm reading from the things in the universe, La ilaha illallah is my conclusion that I come to, that they do not possess anything, but whoever is their owner, their maker, is the source behind them. So yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Fariha.
Thank you. Another point I wanted to add is because, uh, this whole keyword, desolation of loneliness. You can only be saved from the darkness of despair, the desolation of loneliness. We experience this. You can be saved from darkness of despair in terms of, we're all pretty much going through this aging process. Loved ones departing, getting old. So, there's despair that comes with what we experience in the universe if there's no proper education on how to deal, or how to handle, or how to implement uh, how to execute my human feelings in the right direction. I mean, um, you know, so that's one piece, darkness of despair, and then desolation of loneliness as well. And pretty much, if you think, I mean, I just ponder a lot on our situation in this digital age, people on their phones, technology. You could be doing anything, but at the end of the day, we're still by ourselves, in terms of um, this experiencing existence is something I'm experiencing within me, and creation around there is helping me understand my existence. And what I meant was, with this loneliness part, was also, I mean, how you have several different so I don't want to say solutions, but like paths that you can adapt in your lives if you want to sort of be at peace. For example, just be a little bit have solo time, reflect a little bit. Like we said, what was the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, doing when he was going to the cave. He was really contemplating. It's just a little break from the hustle and bustle of the city life. What I'm trying to get at is I cannot totally detach myself from I don't want I live in a city, so it's like a city life. I cannot detach myself and just go somewhere live in a cave. But I can maybe from time to time just take a little moment or break just to contemplate and reflect if it's needed, like a pause. Otherwise, yeah, we cannot just totally be lost. You know how like we take a break, a little bit of vacation, something just to reorient, freshen up your mind. Same thing, I think existential break to me is really um, detaching just temporarily from distractions and really trying to understand what am I doing here? What is all what are all these experiences really they signify? And then get back in there. So I just wanted to make sure that this path of prophethood really helps us balance between two extreme poles. One, totally detaching myself from the universe, and the second, totally be immersed in the universe. However, we are immersed in the universe, but unfortunately, the way our lifestyles are, we get lost with the reflectors, like you mentioned earlier. We get lost with um, being just in awe of the moon in the analogy. So it's it's gotta be a little balance here. I mean, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It does that makes sense a little bit with the loneliness piece. Because also historically it's known that most prophets they just for a little temporary period of time they sort of um, det- detach themselves from their regular routine. Even, I mean, I just know a few story of Prophet Moses. Just, I mean, he had family life, kids, whatsoever. But then he's like, wait, uh, I need to do a little contemplation, reflective time, and then I'll share in what I understand from it. So we all need to do this, and obviously, and I felt the way things are structured as well throughout the day is also like, hey, take a break and okay, what happened between sunrise to sunset? But it's just there's not much contemplation or reflection that goes on. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to share this. So like right now, this alhamdulillah, the weekend that we're experiencing, it's just it helps a little bit to disconnect from whatever we do Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Then a little bit just reflect on this, and then Monday comes, shall we go back to our routines? But the whole idea is that's the training I feel. Again, don't get lost in the routine, right? Just balance things out. Just wanted to share this.
Thank you. Yeah, so let's continue basically. So give up the night of nature and turn to the sun of reality. This progression needs to be made to turn to the sun of reality. And then you believe with complete certainty. So maybe basically you're using your whole human qualities, the faculties, the spirit, that the light of the night are the shadows of the lights of the daytime sun. So making progress, being sure that light is not coming from the moon, but is coming from the sun in this analogy. So the qualities that are observed on the creation are coming from the one who gives those qualities, the one who owns those qualities. It's not the thing itself. All right. So after fulfilling these conditions, you will find your perfection. So basically, let go of your ego in a way, like holding on to many ideas, thoughts, and conclusions that are not tied to the reality. So you will find the majestic sun in place of the poor and darksome moon. But like your previous friend, so the previous friend is the flower, you will not be able to see the sun clearly. You will see it beyond the veils with which you reason and your philosophy are familiar and conversant. And behind the screens, woven by science and learning. Behind the screens, woven by, so influenced by science and learning. And within a color conferred by your capacity. So how much human qualities have progressed to realize. Okay, I will pause here to hear if anybody has any comment on this paragraph in general or any particular phrase they would feel that needs a little more elaboration or, but I think it's pretty clear in terms of how this human progress is being made and moving out of this droplet stage and going into the path of prophethood. Fariha, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, I think you underlined the items in the last 3 lines at the end of the paragraph well, because I was thinking behind the screens woven by science and learning, because well, the resources that are available to me in the mainstream culture, I'm surrounded by that. And I'm also surrounded by the reason and your philosophy in terms of, I think a couple of years ago, we did something like a discussion, and there was something that came up about wisdom. Wisdom in and of itself is not enough for me to get to the truth. It will help me, but yeah, it's got to be used in the right way, because wisdom will just point me to solutions within the universe. And so I definitely need things are within me also, my human qualities, but I need some sort of, what do you say? Like we refer to like a manual. I need something. The source of my existence must speak to me about what do I do with my human qualities? Like earlier when we were talking about, I have all these feelings. Sure, I'm emptying my cup, but then, like, I need. Otherwise, if I try to fill up my cup with solutions from this universe, it's just I'll find myself in the same place. It's polluted, and so yeah, that made sense. And then within a color confirmed by your capacity, I'm not sure what that means. Maybe within a color conferred by your capacity, how much you're really looking into this matter. Remember earlier how we said, like way before, with that table, with the droplet piece, where you're using the reflector as in a sage or a guide, your spiritual guide you're following, and hey, yeah, whatever, I'll follow through with his teachings. And so pretty much you're limiting yourself to sufficing yourself and your capacity. You're not letting it extend. to giving it a chance, an opportunity to further go beyond, go towards what the universe pretty much signifies or points to. Yeah, and then the flower and the droplet, yeah, they're like friends in terms of stuck with the understanding of confinements of this universe. Or even, not even that, but just not educating well with how to utilize these qualities.
Thank you for your comments, Fariha. Yes, you're right. Okay, so let's move on. If anybody has any thoughts, you can share them. Brother Ali, please go ahead.
Do we notice that we are studying the second category of, we have been studying 3 categories. The second category is droplet. And the paragraph started describing this second category, droplet category. And he said, wise philosopher who has entered into droplet. Have you noticed that he is using, the author is using the one who follows the sainthood method? It means Sufi method. He says philosopher. What does it signify? Because we categorize, if you share the chart, you here, this intellectual thought means philosopher, yeah, path of sainthood. Now we are studying path of sainthood, but he uses philosopher. Why do you think?
Philosopher reasons, basically. One uses the intellect to
Yeah,
come
but,
to understanding.
but at the same time, excuse me, the category says sainthood, but sainthood seems to be not using their reason.
I think it's because, like, just to add on to what Asim was saying, reasoning, wisdom, what philosophy does is just use already existing theory or work on the existing theory to extend the reasoning of something. Is that what you were looking at? And so your question is that, right? Like, why are we using the word philosophy for the category of sainthood? Yeah, I would say because philosophy, what it does is pretty much is offering solutions that are just, I mean, theory, building upon theory. He said that he was his student. Okay, now let me pick up his work and this is my framework now for this day and age. But it's just utilizing each other's work, connecting the dots, but it's just within the universe. So I'm relying, if I'm following philosophy, I'm just relying solely on what somebody's saying, somebody's teachings, philosophy. And I don't get to connect. I don't know. I'll make a jump here. I don't get to connect directly with the source of my existence. But let me think also a little more on how would I do that, because I'll be like, yeah, this philosopher's saying good thing, he's a good teacher. Let me. But then maybe I become reliant on philosophy. I become reliant on the philosopher, and they're all of this universe created beings. And so it doesn't help me. Maybe philosophy doesn't help me connect with the source of my existence directly.
I don't know these speculations, but he says, you have entered the moon, look of itself, the look of itself. No, there is
So
some.
the moon itself,
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
by itself.
The look of itself, the moon is dense and dark. Yeah. What does it mean? What is the difference between these two first categories now? The first category was, can you share again if you don't mind and it's easy? Yeah. The first category, flower said, all the colors is mine. Second category, droplet is reflecting the moon. Moon doesn't say, although flower says color is mine, it means the intellectual thought means reasoning here, a kind of philosophizing the subject, looking at the particle and seeing that this particle has all the qualities in itself. They are not created, no, they are not the manifestations of the creator of the manifestations or the qualities of the creator of the flower. It doesn't accept this, but it says the flower is created by God. It believes in God. The second category, droplet, says, I don't say these qualities belong to the droplet, to the moon. It means the light manifested in the room is in the moon. Moon, it is a manifestation. I accept this. But he restricts himself. It means the quality is manifested in the existence of a particle. They don't belong to the particle. It is reflected. But he says, since I am seeing the quality through the particle, so I will follow the particle. Restricts himself by reasoning, understand that the qualities are not originating from the particle. Droplet means particle. So, but since I am seeing the qualities manifested in the particle or the droplet, that's enough for me. I am communicating with it. With what? With the qualities. So ultimately, he says, I am communicating with the owner of these qualities manifested in the droplet. Now, he says, look, you went there. The author says in the paragraph we read, because we have to make the distinction between second category and third category.
Can I just stop you for a second? You said the droplet will say, I'm manifesting the owner's
qualities
mm-hmm.
quality is manifested in the droplet. It means in the moon, example moon, the light from the moon is not originating from the moon.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But what is the difference between the first and the second category? First said, the moon is created, but the qualities belong to the moon. So I believe in God, the creator God who created the universe, but now universe is working itself. That is first category. The second category says, no, universe is not working itself. All the qualities manifested in it do not originate from the particle. So particle is created, and also qualities manifested in the particle don't belong to the particle, but belong to the creator of the universe. It means one step ahead of the first category. Is it clear? Before going into the comparison with the third category.
Crystal clear, yes.
Okay, it is clear, alhamdulillah. So, from the author says, look, you went there, you realize that particle is not the, sorry for my confusion of the language. Particle doesn't have any quality to be the originator of the light. That is right. And then, yeah, it is lifeless. Why do you stay there then? Why don't you go one step ahead and say that, okay, I am seeing the qualities here manifested, that, for example, knowledge in my sheikh, in my leader. That is enough for me. No, since you realize that this knowledge is obtained from the revelation to the prophet, so why do you confine yourself, limit yourself to the sheikh or to the manifestation of the qualities in the particle or all the universe? The same thing. Manifestations. Since you realize that they are manifestations, your sheikh is learning this information from the revelation. Why don't you just go and follow the prophetic way and be a follower of the third category? That is what the difference between second category and the third category. It is not in between. It is not in the middle way. It is another step. No, Sheikh equals prophet. In the eye of the follower of the second category, Sheikh is equal to prophet, but he doesn't bring prophet in the if you like in the picture. Since I am learning the truth from the Sheikh, I don't bother about the prophetic teaching, because ultimately it is from the prophet. When we receive the light reflections on the moon, what did he say? So far we studied, that is light here. Although it is reflection, I am happy with it. No, he doesn't go and search where the light is coming to the moon so that he will connect himself to the moon. Sorry, to the sun. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confusing. Why don't you then? We have to ask to the second person. That is your own reasoning. That is why he's a philosopher. He says, look, since I am receiving the light from the moon, that's it then. What else I should look for? What else I should know, I should need? But the author says, as if this by making this analogy, sort of this analysis, author says, look, man, you have a human capacity, huge capacity. Why don't you go and follow the prophet yourself? Why don't you go and follow the sun and get the light from the sun yourself? Because prophet doesn't behave like a sheikh. Why? Prophet doesn't say, I learned this is my knowledge. Prophet says, it is not my knowledge, it is God's knowledge. Oh, there is a dramatic change now. It is God's knowledge. So I am nothing. As if don't imitate me, but follow me, because what you see is direct God's reflection. So when we follow the prophet, we don't follow like a sheikh. We follow the prophet like a transparent particle. Nothing is from me, because prophet says this is Allah will educated me, and I am acting. There's a very fine point here. We have to be very careful. Under the control of Allah, not like in Christianity, as the representative of Allah here. Prophets are not representatives of Allah, another reflection of Allah, God. But he taught me, I transfer it to you. I am not acting like a moon, because moon receives the sun light and reflects the sunlight according to his capacity. Muhammad, the prophet, doesn't reflect the message of God according to his capacity. No, as it should be. That is why the Quran is not limited within the capacity of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Quran is not limited within the capacity of the prophet. What is it then? Direct manifestation of God's absolute knowledge. That is why they say the Quran is not manifestation of God's knowledge in the form of like the moon, like particles, like other beings, mountains. No, it is not created. That's what they say. The scholars agreed on. Quran is not created. Musaf is created. The book is created. The difference is Sheikh is created. Muhammad's body is created. But his actions, his narration of the speech of God is not his actions, but the message in his actions. Quran directly. The prophetic tradition is not directly. So how? Not like Quran. prophetic way of life is receiving the reflection of sun. It means knowledge of the Creator and reflecting it in his life. But the message is directly as God wanted us to follow it. It is a bit difficult to explain. But whether it is clear, it makes sense. Because there is a difference between Quran and the prophetic way of life, where in it is nature. Quran is direct speech of God. Prophetic exemplary life is the meaning is direct from God. That is why the prophetic example is universal. But he, because he is created, he manifests it within his historical and spatial context. This time and space-wise limitations. But the message is in its essence universal. That is why we have to look at the prophetic treatment of his people around him within his historical context, but get the universal message out of it. Whereas in the second category, if you like, you can exchange the second category. This droplet, the path of sainthood. In the second category, Sheikh manifests what he has learned from the Quran, from the prophetic life, within his capacity, without universal message in it. Prophet reflects in his life apart from the Quran. Quran is absolute, that's it. But prophetic message reflects it within his, not his human capacity, historical context, but inside there is a universal message. In Sheikh's capacity, there is no universal message. Sheikh's actions or knowledge, he teaches his followers, there is no universal message. Is it clear? Somehow doesn't make sense.
I mean, just thank you for sharing this good information, but I'm trying to understand this whole idea of sheikh. I'm not practically familiar with what that means because I directly understand the prophetic message. So anyone teaching the prophetic message is pretty much teaching me how to directly connect with the source of my existence. So I'm wondering, how does sheikh, or forget about the sheikh, maybe like a sage or guide, how does that play in a person's life practically, like in what ways? Because at the end of the day, I mean, because if we're saying, like you said this was interesting, the prophet does not claim, peace and blessings be upon him, doesn't claim ownership of the knowledge. But if I don't know what it would be like. The sheikh would say, hey, this is what
excuse me, the time is up. That is why the case is understood. So the saint person says, this is what I am doing, this is what I am saying, this is what I understood, and within his historical context, He reflects what he understood and doesn't have universal message in it. You cannot get a universal message in it, so that if a saint said something in, let's say, 19th century, in 21st century, it doesn't work.
That makes sense because they're like philosophers. I mean, we have to update the theory. So we have to.
Philosopher, not like the first category. We made clear the first category and the second category difference. First category, again, is like a philosopher, intellectual thought that thinks in a philosophical way, but attributes the qualities to the thing itself. As if, let's use the example of the moon, saying that moon is the source of the light, not reflector of the light. The one who says source is first category, reflector, second category, third category, okay, you see the reflections. Why don't you go to the source? Is it clear now? The time is up. That's why I'm
Yes, that part is clear. So now I'm okay. I was just trying to understand that little fine point. But what would make? I mean, this is brilliant. Isn't this what everybody's doing? The prophetic message, trying to follow the prophetic message.
Yeah.
And so
let me interrupt you. If
yeah, no worries, all good.
Time is too late. So,
but we're getting into a heated debate now. This is good.
For example, if I read the Quran and interpret it, it doesn't have a universal message. If I read a hadith narration and interpret it, it doesn't have a universal message. But the way I interpret it, but the hadith itself, hadith narration itself, has in its essence, has the quality to become a universal message. When I interpreted the hadith or the Quran within 21st century, it may have reflects like the moon reflects the light. It may have reflect some light to some people, but it doesn't function like the moon, like the sun. But the prophet's action functions like the sunlight. So when I interpret it, it becomes my limited interpretation. When the prophet puts the message, revelation, into practice, it doesn't really function as an obstacle in the way of the reflection of the truth, but the practice took place within historical context. But the essence is still directly from the sun in itself, whereas reflection from the moon is not, yes, it is the reflection of the sun, but it gives the light to me according to his capacity. Whereas the Prophet Muhammad gives the light message of God, not according to his capacity, according to it is universal message, but it took place within an historical context. But if you want to understand this third category, transparent practice, much clearly, we have to talk about the Quran. So Quran speaks and Prophet Muhammad has nothing to do with it. Just takes it, transfers it, not reflect, transfers it to us. Read it out. That's it. Not interprets it. Quran. But in his life, he interprets it, but keeping the original or universal capacity of the message. When we are studying the transparent particles, we have to keep in mind that Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, the prophet, never said, this is my capacity when he practiced his messengerhood or prophethood or messengership. Inshallah, I think we have to.
Yeah, so since you brought up the revelation in the path of prophethood, like directly, basically, so the prophet doesn't interpret the message, basically. That's how I have to see it. So,
No,
yeah, all
no.
these like exegesis or the explanations that are written by many scholars, right? So they kind of add a color to
Yeah.
their understanding of the revelation. So I have to go directly and see the message from the source itself directly. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I am. I have to learn from the scholars, but bear in mind that I am directly connecting I am trying to connect myself, my understanding, to the source of the revelation, which is Allah, God. Some people confuse that because they think that the prophet is functioning like a sheikh.
Oh,
No,
that makes sense now. I get it.
yeah,
It's just then it becomes like a regular teacher, philosopher, sage,
yeah,
spiritual guide. But no, prophet is just functioning based upon how the source of its existence is willing him to function. And therefore I understand the whole body part because it, how would you display the message otherwise if it's not through physical means? And okay, now let's think inshallah a little more on this. This is great. I think we're warming up now actually.
yeah. It's a delicate subject, when we listen to somebody and we are learning Said Nursi from Said Nursi, for example. We are learning from Said Nursi. In this way, Said Nursi is not functioning as a prophet, but as a sheikh in this context. That is why Said Nursi was in his practical life very careful not to accept any special respect to himself and visiting him and taking some sort of, uh, how do you say, pledge of
Compensation.
allegiance, pledge of allegiance from somebody, whatever I say, you will do it. No, he says, this is what I understood. If you like, benefit from it and connect yourself to the Quran through my writings. That is Nursi's practical life was. It is interesting, actually.
Universalizing the message, basically, going from.
Yeah, it means directing our attention to the Quran directly and go to the Quran, but learn how to do it as I did. You can learn from my writings, but it is my writings and my understanding. It is not like the prophet. Prophet doesn't say, this is astaghfirullah, this is my understanding. No, God asked me to do this way. That's it. You see the difference, inshallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. So getting
Inshallah.
clearer. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah. Okay.
Okay. Any other thoughts by anyone before we wrap up for today?
Yeah.
Inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا على الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سورة الفاتحة.
Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. A lot of things to think about. Inshallah, see you all tomorrow.
İnşallah, inşallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
جزاك الله خير. السلام عليكم.
Aleyküm selam abi.